Hi, I want to welcome Claudia Hershner. She's a good friend of mine and a photographer. And Claudia, could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah. So I'm Claudia. Hello. Last name Hershner. Yes. I mostly work out of Cincinnati, Ohio, although I travel for different projects as well. I work as a commercial photographer. So that means I work with businesses. I work with companies to produce different types of imagery, whether, it's product or it's lifestyle with models in environments or in studio settings or styled lifestyle environments. But I also do like production and art direction for video projects and also still photography projects where I'm not the photographer, maybe somebody else is. And then just art direction in general as well for different things here and there. But yeah, so that's what I do. So I'm helping Michelle today with different tips and tricks and just a deep dive into lighting and all the things you would want to consider when doing things like this or building out your Zoom room.
Okay, on video.
Yeah.
Prints or solids? It doesn't matter.
It's interesting. Like, I really think it comes down to your audience, honestly. I think that prints can be really fun.
Okay,
And I think that they can definitely brighten up a meeting. Like, that's cute. You could wear that against the background you have right now.
that's true. Like this
Yeah,
is
I
something
couldn't.
more distracting than this, which is a bigger kind of print.
Yeah, and I think if you're ever concerned about it too, like having something to layer that is solid to break it up a bit is good. And then are those like stripes or refined prints?
They're little dots. I thought I'd bring in guy clothes too. Uh,
So what I will say though about prints, I would say avoid small dots in very tiny prints or textures. You
okay.
could even say because depending on the video you're using or the camera or iPad or device you're using, you might actually create a problem for the camera to figure out how to replicate or capture that pattern. We call it moire in technical speak, and what it is it's an issue that the camera has with discerning high contrast areas right next to each other.
Okay.
And what ends up happening is you'll see it sometimes when you're shopping on clothing sites. There might be like a pattern or something, but for some reason it looks like a weird wave of
Yeah.
noisy
Okay.
visual, and it can look bad. So if you're ever worried about that, I recommend maybe testing it out with a friend to see if your camera or your device is prone to moire issues. And if it's not, awesome. If you aren't sure and you just want to be safe, like solids will definitely not give you that problem. But highly textured, patterned items, like if it's a really like tweed, for instance, or houndstooth. If it's a small houndstooth pattern, it might be an issue. But I think like what you're wearing right now, that would be fine. And I think it just depends on the audience. I think solids look great. I think patterns like what you have look great. It would just depend on who you're talking to and if they're going to appreciate it like you do. Like,
Glasses.
yeah, so if your glasses have heavy glare, I suggest not using them. There are some glasses that I know that sucks, right? Because I'm blind, but I'm
Just
wearing,
Brandon.
but they do make types of lenses that have anti-glare, no glare. I've worked and photographed a few different people who have and use those types of lenses, and they're amazing, like so amazing. They really do not show like any glare
That's it.
because if yeah. And if you're like me today working with the light setup I had my glasses on earlier because I was thinking about this exact same thing and I wanted to see what it was doing. And the glare wasn't terrible, but it was noticeable. Um, Not knowing how my audience is viewing me, they could be viewing me on an iPad or a laptop or a giant screen in a meeting room. So like it could be perceived as like a tiny little thing that doesn't matter on an iPad screen. But suddenly, if you're like in a meeting room blown up and like 10 people are watching you, you might not be able to see it, but they will. So
Right.
it's something to definitely consider. And I'm trying to think if they have that kind of anti-glare at places like Lens Crafters or whatnot. I want to say most places offer it. I would just request that you see the lens first, like if they have a sample on the floor to look at and just test out. One way to really like test it, if you're not sure and you want to make sure that it does work, you could just have your flashlight on your iPhone turned on and just kind of like, do this and run it by whoever's wearing it, or if you're wearing it, and just see like how effective it really is. Because this is a pretty strong highlight. We would call it like a specular light source, a very tiny but strong light source. So it's going to give you the harshest shadows and the harshest pops of light. So yeah,